Hi, Shepherd's Pie. Greetings from the Philippines. I'm back. Now, this might be a noisy one today. I'll tell you why. I am not rocking the new microphone. The reason is I want to do a little test because I've had a few complaints with the new mic that people can only hear it out the left ear. Now I am guessing that's because you're using headphones, because I've got this little microphone that plugs in the Insta360, and the beauty of it is it cuts out the background sound, which is why I say this may well be a noisy one. But I reckon what it must do is only record from one side. It will cut out the other four microphones, so I'm betting that's why. I'm guessing that the people who are having trouble listening with headphones and it's only coming out of one ear because of something Miss Rogue said about her headphones, because a few guys have been saying that the sound's fine, it's great. So that's my theory anyway. We'll find out at the end of this one. But as I say, it's probably going to be noisy. Now I am walking up a path I haven't walked before, untrodden paths, because why not check somewhere else out? They're bloody noisy, these goats, aren't they? Bloody noisy. I don't know what you're talking to me for, mate. I haven't got anything. Anyway, there you go. So the crux of the video: easy living. Because to me, that's what the Philippines is all about. That's what Thailand is all about. It's what Cambodia is all about. Life is easy here. Now, what do I mean by that? And why do I mean it? Well, it's a confusing one really, because obviously life is not easy. Hell of a lot of goats here. Life is obviously not easy if you're a poor Filipino. But if you are a Westerner and you've got a money coming in and you lead an expat life, that's obviously different to if you're struggling for money as a Filipino. But if you are an expat, there is something that gives you a total sense of freedom when you're living in Asia, a total sense of relaxation, a feeling of easy living. And I don't know why that is, because as I've said many times before in my videos, there are a lot of problems here. We have brownouts. We've got brownouts. We've had quite a few brownouts this week, more than I'm used to in the Dumaguete Bekong area, and we've got a scheduled one on Saturday, 12 hours, which I'm really not looking forward to. This cow's coming to say hello here. Hello, my old mate. How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, you're nice, aren't you? A scheduled one, which is going to be a real bugger. It really is. Not looking forward to it at all. But at least with the scheduled ones, you can plan to go out. I mean, we'll probably go to the beach or something, spend a day out, go up to Valencia. The bureaucracy here can be a real pain. When you go shopping, the lines can be a nightmare. Everything is so complicated in terms of paperwork. Even if you pay by your card, they have to add all these excess codes and all these different procedures and things, which can wind you up. But despite all of that, despite those problems, despite the heavy rain and the problems with the road, life here just feels easy. It's such a slow pace. I mean, there is nothing for you to get stressed about. Even though there are things to get stressed about, it's hard to explain. And it's not just the Philippines. It's Thailand too. It's Asia. This sense of freedom and relief. I don't know. Classic example, when I first moved to Thailand, I mean, I've been there before. When I first moved, I moved in 2014, and I moved the day of the coup. And I can't remember the exact day, but it was the day of the coup. And I didn't know anything about it. It was only when I got on the plane. I don't know what this counts. Anyway, it's only when I got on the plane, got off the other end, got a couple of text messages saying, "Are you all right? There's been a coup." Thinking, you know, what are you talking about? Didn't see anything at Suriname Airport. Didn't see anything on a taxi ride down. Was getting messages that it'd been a coup. Starting to think it was all a load of fuss about nothing. Then when we got to Pattaya, I was meeting a friend who had a bar in Walking Street, Kevin, to pick up the keys for my apartment because he'd sorted it all out for me. It's a bit of a dead end, this road. He'd sorted it all out for me. So we had to go there first. Got out. Would have been about 10 o'clock, I think it was. Got out of the taxi, went to the bar, ordered a beer, and then suddenly you hear these police sirens and that, and flashing lights. And a convoy of army just came straight down the road, with police flashing torches in all the bars and that, telling them to close it down, shut the place. And the coup was in place, and that was it. And for about 2 weeks, all the bars had to shut. I can't remember what it was, 10 o'clock at night. There were really strict rules. It was a bad month there. But this went on for about a year. Not the curfew, but you know, the ramifications of the coup. And people used to say, I was still read the English papers, read the Guardian and that, you know, online. Talk to relatives and that in home, and they'd be saying, "Are you all right? Are you all right? You know, how's things going over there?" Because they're hearing all these stories about protesters being arrested and, you know, and in prison for their resistance and all that kind of stuff. And you know, I'm sure there were. I mean, I'm not saying there weren't, and I'm not saying, you know, I'm sure there were some terrible things going on there. But the point I'm saying that in the papers, it was portraying Thailand as being this police state, you know, which was run by the army, where people's freedoms were being eradicated. And you're reading that and you're thinking, because I was having Petchpom at this stage, you think, oh, this is nonsense. I mean, it may be happening like that for a few, and I don't want to get in a political debate about freedom of speech and that in Thailand, you know, the laws about what you can say about the royal family. But as I'm reading all this stuff about what a terrible place Thailand is, there's no freedom there, at the same time, you can jump on your scooter, you can drive down the road, you don't have to wear a helmet, you know. I had never felt as free in my life as I did living in the mountains in Thailand. And it's like, yeah, now, I am not for 1 second advocating drink driving or whatever. I'm just not, because obviously it's a stupid thing to do. But I know a guy I was talking to last night watching the England game. And he had an accident a couple of weeks ago, came off his bike. Can't remember any of it, can't remember half an hour afterwards. But he hit his Filipino bike with a couple of girls on it. It was possibly their fault they'd pulled out on him. He can't remember, but a couple of his friends saw it who were with him. But he'd been drinking, so whether they'd pulled out on him or not, he shouldn't have been drink driving. But he'd come off the bike, knocked unconscious, gone to hospital, got fixed up. He'd paid for the girls' hospital treatment and he'd paid for their bike to be repaired. Paid for his bike, which was a rental, to be prepared, but he had to go and pick his bike up from the police station. And when they handed it over to him, it was like a real mess. I said, and he had to take it down to the undergarage, which cost him 20,000, I think he said in the end, but that's irrelevant. I said, well, what did the police say in the end? You know, about you being drunk and that, are they going to do you or anything? They weren't remotely interested. You know, they didn't do anything. You know, no charges pressed. The fact he'd been drunk and he'd had the accident over the limit was irrelevant. They didn't care. The people who had been hit by the bike, apparently they were happy as Larry that they had their bike paid for and hospital bills. It was a no-stress situation. As I say, I'm not advocating it, but that's the thing about this place. You know, there are stresses in terms of electricity. There are stresses in terms of, you know, the bureaucracy and things at times. But on the whole, it is the easiest life. I mean, even if things go wrong here, you know, it's hello. It's got some music going on there. That was our next door neighbour. It just went past us then. They got the old karaoke ringing out here. Not often you hear karaoke. That's the first time in a while. Yeah, you don't really have to worry about the things you worry about in the UK. You know, things like his accident didn't cost him much. Yeah, it would have cost him more if he'd been in the hospital, you know, if he hadn't, you know, if he'd been injured more badly and that. Anyway, I'm getting away from the motorbike, but what I'm saying to you is, there is a sense of well-being and relaxation I get living in Asia that I've never been able to replicate living in Europe or Western, like America. I told you I lived in Vegas for a bit, travelled around a lot in America, you know, lived in a few countries in Europe. I mean, I've lived in quite a few countries. I can't remember how many, but I've lived in quite a few, you know, for like 1-2 year stints throughout my time. They've all got good things going for them. They are all a lot better in terms of infrastructure and organisation and healthcare and, you know, regulation, etc. But they're more stressful, which is strange, because you'd think that, you know, the power cuts and that here would get you down, and they can be irritating at times. This one on Sunday is going to be a real pain unless we make the most of it. The last one we had I found very boring because Ellen wasn't here and I couldn't go out to the pub or whatever because I had to pick her up in the evening, so it was a long boring day, so I say practicing darts. But it'll be different this time. We'll make the most of it. We'll go out, you know, we'll go up into the mountains, go to the Valencia food market, go for something to eat, probably go down the beach in the afternoon. You know, make the most of it. Might be a good day. So the point is, what I'm trying to get over with this video is it's easy to make criticisms, and I have done, and I'm not knocking, you know, I try and do a balanced view when I make these. It ain't perfect here. It is noisy at times. It's a very noisy country, you know, infrastructure's lousy, power cuts, internet. There are problems that you need to surmount over here, but compare it to your home country, and that's what I'm doing now. You don't have the worries of having to make ends meet, the worry of interest rates and mortgage rates. You don't have to wonder if you're going to get pulled over by the police and, you know, have your brake lights checked and things, you know, the regulation, you know, just all the crap that you get in the West. Because remember, in the West we're supposed to be incredibly free. You know, we live in these democracies that are wonderful. You know, we've got, you know, fantastic infrastructure and, you know, all the rest of it. Yet they managed to knock in congestion charging and, you know, speeding fines. There you go in the UK. Got to watch yourself all the time because of bloody, you know, speed cameras and all that kind of crap, you know. Again, I'm not encouraging speeding, but last time I was in the UK and I got back to visit people, it's amazing how all these villages, my parents live up in the Welsh mountains, and now like 20 mile an hour speed limits. You've got speed cameras everywhere, CCTV, constantly being surveilled. And I'm not some libertarian. I'm not going down that route. You know, when I say about congestion charging, I'm not against, you know, doing things for the environment. I'm just saying, for all the faults in Asia, the well-being, the sense of well-being, the sense of, you know, relax. I mean, last night I was watching the England game, and it pissed down with rain, and the roof was leaking. But no one really cares. You know, it's if that was the UK, you know, we'd all have been complaining about the weather, and you know, it is a slow pace here. It's a relaxed pace. you can enjoy yourself doing nothing here, and I'm an expert at that. But if you want to do stuff, you know, you can do. I mean, it really depends what you want to do in life. I mean, because you can go to mountains, you can go to beaches here and that. You know, I've got aunt and uncle that I'm very close to. They live in, used to live in London, now they live down in Plymouth. You know, they wouldn't like it here, because they like going to the theatre, they like going to galleries, you know, they like going for walks. I mean, you can go for walks here, but I think they find it too hot. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you're the kind of person that wants to, you know, get the most out of the cultural aspects of a place, you know, like you like going to museums, you like going to the theatre, you like reading, you like poem recitals, you know, basically middle class academic stuff, then you're probably better going to Portugal or moving to Paris or somewhere like that. But if you want a slow pace of life, where even there are problems, I'm saying, but they don't seem to stress, I don't know why, but they don't stress you out. I mean, you always get this thing, you know, people living in Thailand and that saying that, you know, and I am one of those people, you know, saying that the infrastructure's terrible here and all that. Well, it is in many ways, but yeah, it might get you down once in a while with the old power cuts, but they're not insurmountable. Hello. They're not insurmountable. You can, you know, as people have said, my old mate Jim in Luzon, if you get solar, you ain't got that problem anymore. You get Starlink for your internet, you ain't got that problem anymore. You know, it's healthcare. You get good private insurance, you're willing to pay for that. It's you know, you don't have those problems anymore. You know, it's you know, I'm going round in circles here. What I'm trying to say is, very hard to say living life in the Philippines is not a lot less. What am I saying? I am mumbling like a mother today. It's I'm just saying it's stress-free here. It is stress-free, and I do not know why it's stress-free. I know to a lot of people they're going to turn around. I mean, obviously, if you've married some Filipino and you're not getting on very well and you're losing your house and you're, you know, whatever, then I understand you might not think it's stress-free. But to me, and to the expats I know over here, and to the Filipinos I meet over here, because this is the thing, you know, I know obviously quite a few Filipinos now, my girlfriend's a Filipino and that, you know, when things happen here that drive me nuts, she just looks at me, because it really does piss me off, you know, when you're trying to play by, just how they complicate everything over here. You know, when you go to a supermarket like Robinson's, the people who own Robinson's must, you know, have seen how it works in other supermarkets around the world. I mean, they must have done their research. You know, they must know that, you know, you can swipe a bank card, you know, pay by contactless and that's it. You don't have to write codes down and check this against that and that. It's, everywhere you go here, the systems are screwed up. And that used to wind me up, but now it doesn't, because my girlfriend just looks at me and says, well, so what? You know, why are you bothered? What are you in a hurry to do? And she's right. She's right. So that's just my personal situation. If you live in Pattaya, you're having relationships with bar girls and things like that, you know, that can be a stressful place to live. I mean, people commit suicide there, you know. If you're living in Bangkok, suppose it can be any big city, but even so, when I lived in Bangkok, I didn't live there long, but I stayed there, you know, several times. I didn't find it hard paced. I mean, the traffic can be a problem. I know in Cebu, a lot of people I meet there say the traffic's really bad. So I guess what I'm saying, when I'm saying, you know, it's a stressful life here, maybe I'm talking about the provinces and the smaller towns and cities. Can't really talk about Cebu, I mean Cebu City or Manila, because I've not spent any time there. But yeah, anyway, I've gone round and round and round like I always do. The point of what I'm saying is, don't necessarily be put off by the power cuts, the infrastructure. This is going to sound terrible. The human rights violations and things you read about in the papers. Because I'm talking about Thailand, I'm talking about Cambodia, I'm talking about the Philippines. I mean, I'll probably put in the thumbnail, you know, easy living in the Philippines, but I mean easy living anywhere in Asia. Probably with the exception of Singapore, because I've heard that's a pretty regulated place. Yeah, it's hard to quantify it, it's hard to explain, certainly is for me today because I can't speak, but there is a vibe, an Asian vibe, a Southeast Asian vibe, that things don't really matter. Just smile, be happy. I'm sure a lot of that's money, because as I say to you, you know, we are rich here compared by Filipino standards, or the most expats are, so you don't have the same money worries that you have in the UK, or most people have in the UK, if you know. So that makes a difference. So you're not constantly worrying about, you know, interest rates going up on your mortgage and, you know, taxation, all that. You kind of escape that over here. So that will be a big element of why it's, you know, why it's more stress-free. But I think it's just the pace. It is a slower pace. A lovely slow pace. The days just blend into one. You know, when you go out for a meal, you go out in a restaurant. I mean, I complain about the service being not being great in the restaurants and that over here, but that's, I think, because a lot of the staff and that, they just don't see the hurry. They don't see the rush, you know. They're just living a laid-back life. It's the Philippines, baby. It's a lot more fun in the Philippines. That seems to be the catchphrase recently. I don't know where it came from, but I like that. It's more fun. Things are more funny. Anyway, there you go. I'm going to end now because I've gone on longer than I thought I would, but I always do. I think I've made my point in a roundabout way. Like I say, I wasn't advocating drink driving or breaking the rules or anything. I'm just saying it's like, you know, you can go out for a drive here on the car. You know, if I'm on my bike, sorry, and I'm going to Dumaguete, yeah, it's stressful in the sense that a lot of people can't drive or whatever, but I'm not worrying about speed. I'm not speeding. I'm not worried about speed cameras. I'm not worried about being stopped. When you park the bike up, you're not worried about parking tickets. You know, all these things that you have to contest with. You're not worried about congestion charge. You know, all these things that you have to worry about and consider. I mean, I'm not worried about crime. I mean, that's another thing. It's easy living here. I'm not worried remotely about being robbed or getting robbed. Yeah, there's a chance of it. You'll hear the occasional horror story, but not as much as I would be living in the UK. I'll tell you that now. You know, I've been burgled a few times in the UK. You know, happens. I'm sure it happens to me from time to time, but I have never felt unsafe walking around Dumaguete in the early hours. Never felt unsafe wandering around Thailand in the early hours. Felt bloody unsafe wandering around Mexico in the early hours, Tijuana. And I felt unsafe in London a few times walking around in the early hours. Not as much as a tourist would, but yeah, have in America. Never felt unsafe in the Philippines. So there you go. Knock it on your head now. I think I've made my point. If you want an easy life, you want a slow pace of living, think about Southeast Asia. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it would be fantastic if you did. Whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe, be lucky.